If you know your potential, try and bring out the best from it, even if it means you have to take a big risk. Shiv Raman Duggal did just that. Some, in fact, like to call him a serial entrepreneur.
We are willing to change. Don't worry, the money will come. My name is Shiv Raman Duggal. My father was an army officer. He retired as a colonel from the army. And I have basically had my schooling practically all over the country. I have grown up, you can say, as a part of India. I do speak a number of languages very fluently because of that. My college was from Delhi and Delhi University. I did my economics honors. Shockingly enough, much to my astonishment and to the astonishment of my parents, I stood second in the university. And then I went on to do my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and I passed out in 1976. I went on to a career in marketing, and I started my career abroad in a company called Total, which was into oil. Total used to have what was called the luxury goods business, and in the luxury goods business they used to have Laura Ashley, DKNY in those days. Came back to India in 81, founded something known as the Intershop chain of stores and FUs, ran that for a year, worked for a company called Usha International, which used to sell fans and diesel engines, and then went on to work for HCL. There was nothing called networking, there was nothing called a modem, so what did you use a computer for was a bit of a question mark, but there was something called a computer, and it was a desktop. Extremely good job, very well paid, very satisfied. I was so satisfied, and I worked from 1976 to 1992. That makes it something like 17 years. And I worked all over the world. I worked in London, I worked in New York, I worked in Beirut, and I worked in all over India. I think it gave me a fantastic exposure. I developed a very open and a very liberal outlook. But I was extremely happy with my job. I can't say I was unhappy with my job. I was very happy with my job. I was very happy with my environment. I was very happy with whatever I was doing. Never ever thought that I would ever be doing anything remotely related to business. My family hasn't done business from generations, so there was no question of even thinking of it. But when I was working for HCL, two events influenced me. First event which had a major influence on me was the fact that my wife had an exhibition of jewelry, and I had two children at that time, one boy and a girl, and I was told by her that you're going to look after them today. So I took leave from the office, and I thought, all right, we're all going to have a nice time. So we went out, roamed around, came back in the evening, and the kids and me were discussing how we are going to console poor mommy after she's done nothing. So when we sat down, and she was, when we got into the house, and there she was smiling away, and I said, well, what happened? And she said, no, this is the amount of money I've earned. And I calculated, and I said, good God, in one day she's earned what I earn in a month. Then as we continued to work, I started feeling, because I was in the IT industry, I started feeling that there is much more which can be achieved. So one fine day, when I just took a decision that, hang on, I'm not going to let this pass by. I better do something about what I keep thinking. So really the thought of getting into to set up a enterprise which would primarily make enterprise-wide solutions to run companies more efficiently and to utilize these huge amount of computers lying on various tables, as I used to see them, was the primary objective of getting into business. So my first business was Orange Technology. You could think of a computer running your accounts, but you couldn't think of a computer running a full organization. But that was my vision, and that's what I basically went out and convinced a lot of companies in Delhi to buy. So this little software company which we started from one little 200 square feet office with one peon and one half-day programmer and one partner, and the total amount of capital employed in that whole great enterprise was 30,000 rupees, which is a phenomenal sum of money which we thought we had employed. What one is talking about is something which was much before its time, so we were very much ahead of our time, which is why we got all these customers. And that company grew to a business. It started giving us a business of about something like 3.5-4 crores in 2 years' time. We used to have a problem in Orange Technology. The problem which was very severe was you could get people who had degrees, who had qualifications, but they were all the wrong qualifications. They could not do what they were supposed to do. So there is a mismatch in this whole education system of ours. Here's a person who comes up with a degree and he's useless. So with whatever little money I had, I thought, let me go and take a trip to England. So when I reached London, I found myself the cheapest ticket to get to Wigan. which is where this college was located. It was called Wigan India on that name. And I spent about 6-7 days in that place. So then I lost interest in software because I thought to myself, this is a bigger thing. It's bigger not as a business option, because I thought this is bigger because one, I thought it was very relevant to India. Secondly, I thought it was extremely relevant to the society at large in our country. Thirdly, I thought that it's going to make India more productive, more competitive. Therefore, it will create more jobs. So I convinced these people and I took them to come down to India again and have a look at what we have. It was my in-laws' house. And I convinced them that we'll convert this into a college. And I convinced my in-laws that it was a great idea to move to Delhi. And that's from where we started, Wigan India College. And I started thinking very carefully and I said, this is not going to work. I mean, it doesn't serve the purpose which I'm thinking of serving. So I said, no, this is not the right way. So we set up a franchisee network. We thought of another thing. We said, all right, we're going to take a huge gamble. Advertising. Nobody advertised education at that time. So the first ad, we brought it on the front page. So I'm the person who started the front page advertising for education in India. We suddenly became an institution with, 4,500, 5,000 students within 3 months, employing lots of people. And we suddenly grew to an organizational size of about 18-20 crores. I ran that whole organization from 1996 to 2006, and today it has 28 locations from where it works. When I exited from Wigan India College, I set up ICRI. ICRI is basically an organization which was set up by me because I believed and I saw this huge opportunity for this country, and I said, there is this clinical research industry. It was worth 20 crores at that time. I said, why can't this country become a mega clinical research location? It can. The only thing stopping it is lack of manpower. So ICRI was set up to fulfill that gap. We went abroad, we pushed and said, India can be a clinical research destination. Why don't you come to India? We put the pressure on the government with their advertising and so on and so forth. The government suddenly realized, hang on, there is this big, somebody's talking a lot about clinical research, we better get our act together. There must be something going on for everybody. And because of that, this industry today is worth 600 or 700 million. India is a fantastic place to work. I have very great faith and belief. We are a land of mammoth opportunity. Nowhere else in the world does this opportunity exist. And I feel there will be millions and millions of people who will come up as entrepreneurs.
Well, and that brings us to the end of this episode, but we'll be next week with plenty of more inspiring stories from the world of business. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye.